Hey, it's Arjun, CEO of doola.com. Doola is a business in a box, and we have successfully raised over $13 million of venture capital from the likes of Y Combinator, Nexus Venture Partners, HubSpot Ventures, Dharmesh Shah, Cody Sanchez, Graham Stephan, Sahil Bloom, and more, just to name a few. And along the way, we've helped over 10,000 entrepreneurs from over 175 countries not just start, but run and grow their US business. Now, I promise you, by the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of how to manage customer invoices. And the way we're going to do this is in a few simple steps. First, I'll walk through how to actually review and edit your invoice settings. And then we'll jump right in. I'll show you how to actually create invoices to send to customers to get paid. Without further ado, let's do it and dive right in. First, to start, all you have to do is click on that Invoices tab at the top to navigate to the Invoices page. And like that, welcome to the Invoices page. Now, if you have not integrated your bank account or payment processor, or you haven't sent any invoices, you're going to have an empty view that looks like this. If you've sent invoices, you have your bank account and payment processor connected, this is what things will look like. And you can always toggle demo data on or off. Now, first things first, I'm going to show you how you can actually review your invoice settings and change them. You want to get the foundation set. All you have to do is click on that review button on the top right, or in the bottom, you'll see a button that says review default settings. This is going to take you to a screen like this, which will slide right in. And here is where you can actually edit your business information. Now, this is important because when you send the invoice, this is the information that will be shown. So here you can add in your business name, the type. You can also add in all of your location information. This is so that your invoices look professional and they have all of your up-to-date business info. You can also change your brand logos and colors so there's a unified experience, and you can even upload your logo. Here's an example for Stark Industries, who's a freelancer, and then you can continue to add in the rest of your business information in terms of location as well as the logo. Okay, sweet. So now that you've gotten your invoice settings up to date, again, you've added your business name, the type of business, your location, and you've added a logo and updated your brand colors. Now I'm actually going to show you how to actually create and send a new invoice. Okay, so step one is pretty simple. Click on that black new invoice button. And if you don't see any invoices in here yet because you haven't created any, don't sweat. This is what the screen will look like. Click on that black new invoice as well. Okay, sweet. Now step one is going to be adding in some basic information. You're gonna have to select the client that you're sending this invoice to. You'll select the invoice date and you'll select the invoice due date. By default, the invoice date will be today and the due date will be plus 30 days today, which is standard, but you can always tweak those. And then you'll actually add certain items or expenses to the invoice. On the right-hand side, you're going to see the naming convention for the invoice. Now, this is where in your editing invoice settings, you can adjust exactly what this looks like. If you'd like to change what that INV-number says on your invoices, let me show you how to quickly edit your default invoice settings. First, head over to the Settings tab, and then what you're going to do is in the Invoices section on the bottom right, you're going to actually edit your default invoice settings. So click on Business Information, and then it's going to take you to this screen. This is where you can manage the business information that shows up on invoices. So in this invoices setting, again, there's a few things you can do. The first is manage your business information, which is actually your business name, the type, and the address. The next thing is actually managing clients. So you can actually add new clients. So let me show you how to do that as well. Click on that clients button and boom, it's going to show you your existing clients that you have. Now, if you don't have a client, just simply click on add client. Next up, this is where you can add all the information on a specific client. Name, emails, CC emails, BCC emails, and their address. This is an example of what this looks like when it's complete. And last but not least, when it comes to invoices, you can edit the default settings. These would be the payment reminders, the invoice format, and the default message. So if you click on that third row, which says default settings, it's going to take you to this screen. Okay, and here, this is where you can first set up payment reminders, meaning how many days do you want to remind people after an invoice is sent that they have to pay the invoice. You can also change the invoice prefix. So before we saw that INV-number, you can change that INV. Maybe you change it to your company's call sign, your company's stock ticker, whatever you want it to be. But you can change that from INV to maybe DOOLA in the case of Doola, and then the numbers will incrementally be added as you send more invoices. The last thing is the default message. Again, you can change this so that the default message goes out. This could instead be, thanks for choosing Doola. Okay, so now I'm back on the Invoices tab. From here, you're going to click on New Invoice, and I'm going to show you how to actually create an invoice. Okay, so step one again is client, the invoice date, which is defaulted today, the due date is plus 30 days, and then we have to add the items or expenses. Okay, now as an example here, we've added a client, Next Gen Enterprises. You can see that shows up their email, the CC emails, and the BCC emails. This makes it really easy when you're communicating with clients to ensure all the relevant stakeholders actually get the invoice. And if you need to edit that setting, you can just simply click Edit under the client. Next up, we have the dates. The invoice date is by default today. The due date is plus 30 days, but you can edit those. And then we have specific items. So you can actually add items by clicking the black Add Plus button, or next to it, you see those 3 dots with the 3 horizontal lines. You can actually search expenses within your bookkeeping solution and actually add them here too. So let me show you how to do both of these. Let's first start with the Add Plus button. And here you can actually add an item to the invoice. Description, quantity, price, and tax rate, you can edit it all here. And here's an example of what this looks like when complete. Now I also mentioned you can search invoices. To the left of that Add Plus button, you'll see those 3 dots with the horizontal lines. If you click on that, that is how you can search within your existing expenses. In this case here, I found the Apple expense, which I want to bill them for, so I'm simply going to select that. Now, if there are no expenses for this client, you'll see this screen. So this is where it's very useful when you're categorizing your books, your expenses coming in, which we talked about in the managing transactions video. You can actually tie specific expenses and items to clients, which makes sending invoices very simple because you've already tied the expense or transaction to the client. So when it comes time to invoice them, you've already selected the client, and all of those transactions or the expenses that you want to charge them for will show up right here. Now, one other thing I want to show you here is on the top right, you can see you can actually add a discount. Here's what it looks like before you actually add the discount, and you'll simply click on that Add Plus button on the top right. From there, you can select whether the discount is a percentage or a fixed amount, and then set the dollar value. One other thing is, as you're adding a client, you might already have the client saved, and you might have done this in a previous step. This is what it'll look like. You'll click Add Client to be able to select from clients. Now the good news is if you haven't added the client yet, simply click on that Add Client Plus button, and it'll take you to the invoice settings page where you can actually add a client, add all their information in, add their email, their CC emails, and their BCC emails. All of that can be done directly in Flow as well. Okay, great. Now that we've configured the client, the invoice date, the invoice due date, we've added items, we've set a discount if we'd like, we can now proceed to the next step. Simply click Next below. In step 2, you can add a message. And again, we've configured the default message on the invoice settings page. So you can always change it here but the default message will show up. And you can also add any attachments. Maybe there's a separate PDF or documentation that you'd like to share here, or an overview of services, whatever it might be. But easily attach that PDF or that file here. After that, simply click Next. Before I do, here's an example with the default message and an MP4 file, a little music, and an HEIC image attached. Again, you can attach anything here to send to your client. On the top right, you'll see the invoice number, the subtotal, the discount, and the total amount that will be charged. From here, all you have to do is click Next, and we'll go to the next screen. Now on this screen is where you can actually configure how you send the invoice to clients. Now, we actually use a company called Stripe to help you manage and send invoices. So if you haven't connected Stripe yet, you'll need to do it on this page. Simply click Setup, and you'll be able to connect Stripe to your Doola bookkeeping account. Now, if you don't want to actually connect Stripe and send the invoice, you can actually handle things manually and simply just email the invoice to your client. But we actually recommend connecting Stripe because it greatly simplifies the process. So now let's assume that you have connected Stripe. You'll then see here you can actually accept payment in a couple ways. You can do it via bank account, you can do it via credit card, or you can do it manually accept payment on your own. If you don't want to accept payment via bank account or credit card, simply toggle the manual button. You can then toggle the notification settings. So you can actually send the invoice via email, which I recommend doing, and then you can also edit the payment reminders. As a reminder here, these payment settings are enabling you to decide how your client can pay you. So if you'd like to only have them pay you by bank account, don't toggle the credit card button. Or if you'd only like to have them pay you by credit card, don't toggle the bank account. For ease of payment by client, I think sometimes it's good to offer both bank account and credit, but if you'd like to just do bank account to avoid credit card fees or vice versa, where credit card's actually beneficial, you can actually select what you want to toggle here. In this case, we'll toggle both because we want to give flexibility to our client to pay us via ACH bank account or credit card. And once you're set here, click the next button below and we'll proceed to the next screen. And voila, on this screen, you can review the final invoice and click Finalize and Send if you toggled the setting where you'd like to email the invoice, which I recommend. If you didn't toggle that setting, so you're not sending the invoice via email, then you'll just see a Finalize button and you can then finalize the invoice. But again, I recommend actually emailing the invoice so the client can get that in their inbox, and just like that, you've sent an invoice. Now, once you've sent invoices, you'll want a way to actually manage the invoices, what's been sent, what's been paid, what hasn't been actually processed. Now, once you've sent invoices, I want to come back to the main invoices screen to actually show you how you can manage them and keep track of what's been sent, what's been completed, and what is still outstanding. First, there's a couple of cool things you can do. You can actually view all your invoices here, but you can actually filter them by date, by category, or by client. And let me show you how to do that. You'll see that All Invoices button on the top left. Click this, you can actually change the date, filter by client, filter by amount, and filter by status. Next up, on any invoice that has been sent, you can actually click on that settings button, those 3 dots, and open up a few cool settings. First, let's look at what happens if you click that on an unpaid invoice. For example, this is an unpaid invoice and you can actually view the full invoice, all the settings, and the status, which in this case is unpaid. You can download the invoice for your records and you can even send a reminder. You can also add a bank transaction if need be. If you need to add a bank transaction, click that button and you can select the bank transaction to add. If there are no bank transactions from that client, then you won't see any show up here. Now let's come back and I want to show you what happens if you click those 3 dots or the settings for a paid invoice. In this case, the invoice is paid and we can see that they actually paid via Stripe. There's also the ability to add a bank transaction. So this is helpful if they paid via bank transaction and you want to link that payment to the invoice and mark it as paid. Again, here you can download the entire invoice for your records if you need to share it externally or share it internally. This is an example of a paid invoice via bank transaction. And as a reminder, when you click on those 3 dots, you'll have a few settings that you can choose from. These are the settings for unpaid invoices and these are the settings for paid invoices. And that's a wrap. If you have any questions, please let us know. And again, you can always schedule a free consultation with the team or book a free demo to dive deeper into how Doola can support your business. Thanks so much for watching and see you in the next video.